Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining me here today so that we could discuss The Elephant in the Living Room. So, this is a documentary about people who buy exotic animals, but people who have no business buying them, like private citizens, who do not have the resources, do not have the land, do not have the facilities or the infrastructure to care for these animals. And it looks at why they do it, how they do it, and the aftermath of what happens when inevitably it gets out of hand. So this is a super sad documentary, in my opinion. There's a guy who keeps like five lions inside of like a modified school bus and then builds this just awful, rickety, jank cage to put them in. They just have a terrible life. And then you also hear a bunch of stories about snakes that escaped and killed people. There's a guy in Florida talking about how he's personally rounded up over 100 pythons, like just recently, and that there's so many of them, and there's so many of all these animals that are being privately purchased and put into places that can't sustain them, that the sanctuaries and the refuges are just like overwhelmed. Like they can't even take in all these animals, which means unfortunately a lot of them have to be euthanized. It's a tragic, terrible story. I don't know why I know why someone would want to buy a lion. It's really cool idea. But actually doing it, especially if you live in a residential area or you live in a place where you don't have the money or the land or the legality to own it, you just see a lot of how damaging this is. And you see the toll that it takes on the animal workers who are trying to help these animals and safely capture them and protect the public, but protect the animals. You just see a lot of really awful people who will do literally anything for money. They're selling venomous snakes like that kill people like without any kind of, any kind of check at all. It's just really tragic. And unfortunately, this movie was from 2010, and it talks about how reality shows caused a huge spike in this. I can't even imagine how much bigger it is now that TikTok has allowed people to fully monetize having these animals and just turning these animals into a commodity. Anyway, this documentary is really good. It's well made. It's incredibly candid, but it's also very hard to watch. There are some very, very difficult scenes to watch here of animals dying or being put down. But I think it's necessary because people need to see the damage that's done when you bring in an animal that you cannot afford to upkeep, that you cannot house properly, that you cannot care for. And to me, all of this is animal abuse. And I just think it's really sad, and this documentary really shines a light on it. That's my review of The Elephant in the Living Room. If you want to check out more, go to my website, markfusion.com, or go right here on YouTube to my movie review playlist. Until then, though, thank you so much for watching this one. I do greatly appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you soon.